Hi, welcome to The Conversation. My name is Brendan Malone, and in this episode, I want to talk about that interview. You know the one I'm talking about. Meghan, Harry, Oprah, that interview. A few days ago, there was a bizarre moment that happened in the history of humanity. The whole world, it seemed, was blowing up about an interview between Oprah, Meghan Markle, and Harry, Prince Harry, the Harry. And I don't know what to make of this thing. It is the most bizarre incident in the world, and probably more so the response to it is the most bizarre aspect of it. A lot of people don't seem to be particularly aware that this is a moment that was very, very carefully manufactured from a PR perspective. It is absolutely certain that both Meghan and Harry would have PR firms either working for them or on their staff or on some sort of retainer. Possibly they've got their own, and as individuals, their own PR people each to actually take care and advise and coach and to set up these kinds of things for them. This didn't happen by mistake. And Oprah, it's not by chance that they are being interviewed by Oprah. This is a couple who have the celebrity clout to be able to ring any media entity they want to and to get an interview, but they chose to go with Oprah. And there's a reason for that, I think. It's because Oprah, in this kind of context, is she's a power player. She is the kingmaker or the queenmaker. She is like the prophetess who anoints you. And when you do this kind of interview with Oprah, this is like the prophetess anointing you in front of the people and saying, these are chosen people. These are a special select group of people who have elevated themselves from merely being celebrities to now being people who are some sort of celebrities of note, who have an almost divine quality about them. There's a reason why, as I said, they didn't go on Piers Morgan or Tucker Carlson or CNN or Fox News or any of those other networks. There's a reason why it was Oprah. This is carefully selected. There is a method behind all of this. There's no doubt that her PR team and his PR team would have absolutely coached and prepared them for this interview. There's no doubt that they would have had a narrative in mind that they wanted to promote. This is a carefully manufactured event. And there's also no doubt that Oprah is not really going to push too hard because she knows she's a very, very astute woman who has built a very, very big media empire for herself. And you don't do those kinds of things without a certain smarts. You don't do that without intelligence and prudence and a strategic ability to think more than the next step ahead of yourself. And so there's no doubt she knows that this is a coup for her as well. And on top of that, it's not really her style to probe hard. So everyone involved in this event, it suits their ends in a really big way. And we often forget that. We watched that. It seems to me a lot of people who watched this interview immediately took sides. They were either against the Queen and the royal house and they were for Meghan and Harry, or they were against Meghan and Harry and for the Queen and the royal house. It seems to me that none of us actually know the truth here, and we're in real danger of assuming lots of things and passing judgment based on what is a carefully manufactured moment of PR that is manufactured with a precision to try and bring about the aims of those who are involved. It's not for our benefit. It's not really about promoting the fullness of truth. This is about people pushing and promoting their agenda. I would hazard a guess, and as I said, I don't know enough. None of us do to actually know for certain, but I would hazard a guess that there is a certain amount of leveraging going on here. I imagine particularly on the part of Meghan and Harry, in the American scene, they've already shown in the last few months that they are not afraid of getting involved in the US political environment. And Meghan, before that, has also shown her willingness to get engaged in politics. An article appeared late last year with a friend of hers suggesting that she has political ambitions on the US scene, and there's no doubt that this interview would have been very good leverage for that. It's a very, very powerful thing to move from being just a sort of middling celebrity in America that people know from a TV show to actually being royalty, like real royalty, and then to present yourself to people as being the royal who turned away from the all of the wealth and riches and everything else that goes along with the kingdom and forsake the whole thing of royalty for the sake of the people. That's quite a powerful narrative to present yourself as the person who walked away from that. And so it seems that if I was a betting man and I was guessing, and it is pure guesswork because, as I said, it's carefully manufactured. We don't know the truth. Yet lots of people on social media were talking and speaking as if they knew with absolute certainty what was true, what was false, who was right and who was wrong. We forget, and I think a lot of people probably just aren't aware of the fact that this was, as I said, a very carefully manufactured moment. Another interesting aspect of this phenomenon was the way that it really, I think, again, exposed one of the sort of crisis points in our modern Western culture, and that is the tradition versus anti-tradition crowd. You saw that commentary very, very clearly. For a lot of people, it seemed this wasn't just a question of Meghan and Harry versus the Queen. This was about the traditions of what have gone before and the monarchy and everything else, those who are supporters of that versus those who like to imagine themselves as being enlightened modern people who reject tradition. And that's very much a trend through our culture today. This whole idea that tradition is evil, the things of the past are oppressive, that what has gone before is suppression, it's oppression, it's white supremacy, it's patriarchy, it's privilege, it's colonialism, etc., etc., etc. And everything that's new and modern, we're going to put the scale of justice right, and we're going to destroy what's gone before us. And you saw that trend, and it's a fascinating trend, and I would argue it's a very dangerous one for Western culture, because in actual fact, tradition is a very good thing. Tradition is not evil. The traditions that we have inherited, some of them obviously can be updated and if you like, retooled for the modern era, but tradition itself is not an evil thing. The thing that has gone before us actually builds the very foundation we're currently standing on, and the very same foundation we're now attacking with a sledgehammer and trying to claim is a bad thing. And so you've got to accept the good with the bad, and you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But in a culture today, there's a lot of people who have a revolutionary spirit and they want to completely destroy the thing that has gone before. Now, that's bad for us, not just because they're destroying things that actually are good and matter and give your society stability and a balance and a sort of moral compass and an ability to actually flourish in the world, but also because of the way in which we are neglecting tradition itself. Tradition is a thing that grounds us. It is a rock we can cling to in the midst of a storm. It is a thing that you can plant your feet on securely in an age of what Zygmunt Bauman, the great sociologist, referred to as liquid modernity, where everything is changing so fast and shifting around us so often, we can't establish deep roots. Well, tradition allows you to do that. It allows you to connect with something greater and bigger than yourself. It's a reminder that we aren't the most important thing in the world, that our generation is not the only generation, and that there is a wisdom that has gone before us. And so you saw that clash playing out in this debate. But ultimately, for me, I think the most important reality of all that we need to grasp here is that this is really quite meaningless. We're all obsessing over an interview with two people that actually has no substantive meaning in our lives. This is a family feud. That's why I have not watched this interview, and I'm not going to watch it intentionally at all, because this is a private family matter, and private family matters are best addressed within the privacy of family life, not on broadcast TV for the whole world to see. It's so destructive and so disruptive and hugely contrary to building stable, healthy, flourishing family life. And so I'm not going to watch a family feud. There's no need for me to watch this. This is not like 200 years ago where people are building empires based on which princess is married to which prince. This is not an era in which the relationship with the royal house could literally be the difference between a war and peace. We don't live in that era anymore. So despite the fact that this is a royal household, ultimately this is meaningless to us. And yet so much time and so much ink and so many keystrokes over the last few days have been spent obsessing over this interview as if it has some great importance in our lives. It doesn't. It's a distraction, and I think ultimately what it distracts us from is the local. We become obsessed with this sort of global idea of this royalty in a faraway country or a faraway palace, and we forget that in actual fact, what changes the world, what transforms the world in a more meaningful way is local, and the more local the better, starting with us and what's going on in our lives, As G.K. Chesterton famously once said when the editor of his local newspaper wrote a big editorial complaining about what was wrong with the world, apparently G.K. Chesterton wrote to him and he said, "Dear sir, you've asked what's wrong with the world. I am. Yours sincerely, G.K. Chesterton." That's where our focus should be, on our own lives and what we are doing, and whether we are living a good, virtuous and moral life of self-sacrificial love for the good of others, or whether we are forgetting all of that so that we can spend our time obsessing over a prince and a princess in a faraway land and an internal family feud that has absolutely no meaningful bearing on us or the world around us. Thanks for watching this episode of The Conversation. Don't forget to like, share and give this video a thumbs up. That all helps the channel. And wherever you're watching, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the little notifications bell as well. That way you'll get updated about every new piece of content that we publish. A huge thank you to everyone who is supporting us at patreon.com/leftfootmedia. For as little as $1 a month, you can help to ensure that this great content keeps happening. So that's patreon.com/leftfootmedia. As little as $1 a month or as much as you'd like to contribute. And a huge thank you, as I said, to everyone who made today's episode possible. You guys are awesome. I'll see you next time on The Conversation.